You know, I never thought we would have this conversation, and I certainly hoped we never would. However, it seems Ron Toye has some other ideas. He's really broadened out the detective work here. He's showing everyone how it's done. Batman, Sherlock Holmes, get out of here. Ron Toye is an inspirational detective for everyone. You see, he has revealed the giant scheme going on behind the scenes with a select group of shadowy internet personalities. The scheme to trick viewers into going to Nick Rekieta's show by networking and manipulating Google Analytics, manipulating them to go to Nick's show, where Nick's amazing grifting powers would then brainwash people, forcing them to essentially donate super chats to Nick Rekieta. And after that, then those donations would be funneled into the GoFundMe. And that's why the GoFundMe's done so well. It's all a part of this giant scheme. The fans, get out of here. Fans didn't raise that money. This is a scheme from a few shadowy people, and it's all been exposed now, thanks to Ron Toye's masterful detective work. So you probably know that Rekieta's been doing these live streams, these Ronversations, and he's done like 3 or 4, 5 or 6. I don't know. He's done a lot. I am taken back by how many Ronversations Nick is able to do. It's kind of shocking that Ron continues to DM Nick. Now, I don't want to be taking Nick's thing. By all means, the Ronversations, that's his thing. That said, there's only one DM that I want to go over specifically because, I mean, well, let's just go through it and you'll see why. Here it is. And at some point in this specific DM, he will make an implication that YouTube personalities are working with Nick or networking with Nick to manipulate Google Analytics. I don't know if he's referring to me. He was vague. Maybe he's not referring to me. Maybe some of my other buddies that have been on Nick's show. Maybe none of us. That said, I mean, let's just take a look at this. This is hilarious stuff. He says to Nick, where things get ridiculous is when you showed up. No, I mean, it's just so funny that this guy's talking about what's ridiculous. He says, all of a sudden, people were calling her a liar. I assume he's referring to Monica Real, attacking everyone who defended her, attacking anyone who posted anything. The, quote, mutually assured destruction, unquote, plan you and Chuck and Ty concocted checks notes. So I was watching Rekieta's show a bit last night, and he was cracking up on that part. Mutually assured destruction plan. If I recall, Nick said he doesn't know anything about that. It sounds hilarious, though, and he wouldn't mind knowing about it. Something like that. I don't want to misquote Nick. That's what I remember from my vague memory. It's just, it goes on and on. I know I'm saying a lot. It's because this stuff is so mind-numbing and yet hilarious at the same time. It's like part of my brain wants to just ignore this because it's so stupid, and the other half of my brain just wants to delve right into it because it's so freaking hilarious. So let's continue on. Ron says, again, the mutually assured destruction plan you, Chuck, and Ty concocted, and then he says checks notes, ... So is he role-playing here? Is he literally saying, like, okay, it's like a role-playing thing, right? Checks notes will be extreme thorough in both the legal and social spheres. When you get on your show and proclaim we want him RIP, we want him in the dirt, all the beta this and cuck that. So apparently Ron really doesn't like being called a beta or a cuck. You know, most people when they get called that, it's whatever. It's like, okay, it's a silly little insult. With Ron, I guess he really takes umbrage with it. I guess he really makes it personal for some reason. Can't imagine why. He says, and here's the part where it gets even stranger, as I mentioned already. He says, working in sync with a few YouTube personalities and networks to help manipulate Google Analytics and funnel people to your show and grift them out of super chats and turn that into the GoFundMe. So, what? I was laughing too much. I had to literally end the video and start again now. So we got to talk about that. Working in sync with a few YouTube personalities and networks to help manipulate Google Analytics. Ron, let me explain this for you if Nick didn't already. When you are talking about people as odd as yourself, people tend to tune in. So you might think that Nick is manipulating Google Analytics, which in my opinion, absolutely he is not doing. It doesn't even make sense. What you're doing is feeding him content that people find very amusing, and so they tune in. That's just a specific example. Obviously, all of Nick's shows seem to do pretty well. Even when he's not talking about Ronversations or even Vic stuff, his shows do well. He's a likable dude. He puts on a good show, and that's why people tune in. There's no manipulating Google Analytics. People enjoy the show. It's entertaining, and they tune in. And guess what? When YouTube sees that a video or a live stream has good engagement, it starts to promote it internally to other people, and they might tune in, and it amplifies. That's kind of how this works, Ron. I guess, you know, Nick and myself, we're not the expert, though. Apparently, Ron Toye is the YouTube expert here. Okay, so he says the personality thing, manipulating Google Analytics, and then again, he says funnel people to your show and grift them out of super chats, and then turn that into the GoFundMe. This is such a stupid take. Why the heck would Nick try to get people to super chat him, and then he would turn around and donate that to the GoFundMe? Not only does that not make any sense, it's literally a moronic take. You don't seem to realize that super chats, we lose about 30% of each super chat to YouTube. They take that cut. You also don't seem to realize that we have to pay taxes on that income. So it makes literally 0 sense for Nick to try to get people to super chat him, and then he would turn around and send that to the GoFundMe. You know what actually makes more sense? And this is such a simple concept. It's really not that complex. What makes more sense is if they just donated to the GoFundMe. And that's what people do. Hence why the GoFundMe has raised right around $300,000. What else does this guy say? Let's take a look. He says, Nick, you took a situation that was bad for him. I guess him being Vic. You took a situation that was bad for him, but would not have been fatal, and turned it into his 1.5-year-long escapade of why he shouldn't be able to make a comeback. What's absurd here is that Ron is trying to put all this blame on Nick when Vic decided to stand up for himself, as we all agree he should do. You know, Vic has never tried to deflect his decision on Nick. Ron, you're deflecting right now. We actually have accountability and integrity. We don't do that sort of thing. Apparently, you like to do that, though. He says, to answer your final question, does it bother me that Monica didn't tell me sooner? I have answered this before. No, it doesn't. Monica's past is her past. She is free to share as much or as little as she wants with me. I am not an insecure man. Oh my gosh. Listen, if you gotta tell the world that, or at least get into Nick's DMs, which is really weird, by the way, that, again, as I said in the beginning of this video, I can't believe Nick has had so many conversations. This dude just keeps sending it. It's a freaking goldmine, man. And normally I would worry about saying that because I'd be like, look, I don't want it to stop. I don't want Ron to stop sending these to Nick. Nick is doing great shows. It's helping Nick out. And generally, I wouldn't mention that because I don't want to ruin that for my buddy. In this case, though, Ron seems so entirely oblivious, and, you know, he sends it anyways. So it is what it is, I suppose. He says, I'm not an insecure man who needs to know everything my partner did. And that's the only thing I want to go through. I'm not going to go through any more of this. If you want to see the rest of these DMs, take a look at Rekieta Law. I'm sure most of you know who Rekieta is. If you don't, however, I will link his channel in the description anyways, just to be safe. Also, I want to give a thanks to the kind people who promoted yesterday's second video of the day. It's actually only been an hour since that video was released. I'm recording this right after. I'm going to release it in the morning. I kind of like having a morning video. Maybe I'll try to do that more often. Did it the last couple of days here. Seems to be kind of nice. Otherwise, my videos tend to get out a bit late in the day, so still figuring that all out. We have 7 people, though. We got Dinosaur King, Rawl, Kitty Kit Kat, Bruno, Mr. Anime 343, Deshaun Miller, and On the Brain. So thank you all very much. If you promote that video after I see it now, you know, if you promote it in the future, I'm sorry I didn't get to you. Your support is truly helpful, though, and I truly do appreciate you. Thank you again, and I'll catch you next time.